Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for dropping by. This is Winged Radicals. I'm Peyton. He's Mike.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to fact check the town hall that we tried to live stream last week.
We did a great job. In the end, I think it turned out phenomenally.
Not too bad.
It was good.
I mean, our talking over it wasn't the best.
Well, it's important to mention that at the time, we were 95% sure that we were not going to be able to get any of the actual audio loaded in there. So it was like a lot of repeating what's going on. And then I added the audio, and then it sounded weird. But that wasn't, we thought we fucked it up from the jump, you know?
You're right. So I if you listened last week, I kept repeating sort of or trying to paraphrase what was being said because I didn't know we were going to be able to successfully put the audio in the way we did.
Right.
And am I still good?
Yeah, I just keep fucking with stuff again, you know.
So anyway, we're going to fact check today, and MAGA Mike's going to keep me honest.
I am. I'm going to keep fucking with Mike while he talks because we're all fucked up here. But yeah, I'm going to try to keep him honest.
You voted for Trump twice, or you didn't vote at all in 16?
Yeah, in 16, I didn't vote.
Okay, so you're one of the guys that actually was like, "Yeah, I love this."
Well,
I shouldn't say that, but you were.
Let's put it in perspective here. Like I was in college, high school and college, through all of that, and then in 16, I had been working for all of 5 months. And finally started trying to become an adult a little bit, and I decided to recuse myself from that because I didn't like either of them. So it was really like an ignorance, and I don't have time to catch up this quickly on politics. And then in that 4 years, I started kind of paying attention, and I was like, everything's been great for me personally. That was when I decided I was going to vote selfishly all the time based on how my life is, and my life was perfect during that. So I voted for Trump again, and Biden's an idiot, so... the easy choice for me.
my only point was just to say, you're not. If either of us is biased, it's me.
You're
in
definitely
terms
biased.
of Trump, and not you. So you're going to keep me honest. Just clarifying with everyone that may be new listeners.
Yeah.
I voted for Biden last time.
And
Mike
I voted for Trump.
Okay.
And if he ends up there, we're probably gonna do the exact same thing again in 24 because we learn nothing from ourselves.
Yeah, we're gonna cancel each other out probably next year. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to say before we get into the fact checking that I don't give a shit if somebody loves Trump, and well, I kind of do. I shouldn't put it that way. I guess I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I understand that. That most politicians lie in some way.
Right.
I
would say all.
Abe Lincoln lied. Franklin Delano Roosevelt lied.
Abe
Obama
didn't even
lied.
give up his slaves. He took like a while.
Dude.
He was not in a rush. Anyway.
Abraham Lincoln was not a slave owner, just FYI, so we all are clear.
But next episode, we're fact checking that.
So I'm saying that I understand if you're out there and and you say he lies, but I like his policies, or I'm okay with what happened. I know he's not an angel, and all of this.
I think he's on the other side of that.
I'm okay with that, and I think a lot of times whether we like. If someone lies or not depends on if they're on our team or we like their agenda. Obama had once said like, everything's fine with the new healthcare bill. You'll be able to keep your doctor, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I guess that was technically not true. And I don't know if he knew that wasn't true at the time and he was being slick or if he didn't know.
Yeah.
But point being,
politicians were probably just lying to him to report that,
That's possible as well.
Who knows?
So in getting into this fact check, I'm not saying that you are a liar yourself if you don't understand that. I mean, basically, a lot of these are not true, and I hate for it to be one-sided. But most of what he was saying that was not just subjective was untrue or very misleading. And you're going to call me out if I get into something that you don't
right. But I'll just say generally off the bat that you're not wrong. But it's just not an excuse. That's Trump. Like, Trump just exaggerates everything. It's like, how big was the fish? Well, it was this big. That's everything. Like, it was billions and billions of people, and it was like 10,000, Like, it's him. everyone has just gotten used to it, I think. But some of these are outright lies. You know, some of the emphasis or exaggeration, I don't care so much about. But like just saying something happened when it didn't, like that's less okay, I think.
Yeah, but if you watch it and you're like, no, that's not true, because if that were true, that would mean I'm supporting a idiot or a liar or a bad guy, then you might want to reconsider if you support the guy because he was in fact lying. But if you're saying, oh, I know he's lying, and I just understand him, I know, because I hear people tell me, well, I know what he means. I know what he means.
Yeah.
And
I know what he
I'm
means.
like, okay, if you know what it means, you can read his mind. That's fine. All right, but
I would propose some type of in the middle, like if you think that there's any potential that he could be lying or that you just don't know, you have to decide if that's okay with you to stick with him. Like, it doesn't have to be like he said something and did he lie or he didn't lie. Like, you just might not know, but you should decide if, say he was lying, are you okay with that if he were lying, you know?
Yeah,
like, assume
I mean,
everything he says is a lie and then decide if you're okay with that.
Yeah, if Biden did it, you know what I mean? Like, would you be cool with that? That type
Exactly.
of thing.
Yeah, kind of try to rationalize it a little bit.
And I guess the reason why I'm kind of doing all this throat clearing before we even get into the facts here is here we are again, and we got Trump in the mix. And
we're voting for Trump this
I don't
time.
want us all to get, I mean, we're not going to change that here, but ideally, I don't want us all to get back into hating each other.
Fuck you, blow me.
You're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. And all of this.
That didn't stop, though. Like, we're there still.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it's going to get heightened with Trump.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
everyone's going to get all hyped up again. And they're going to be either defense mode or they're going to be like attack mode.
I'm
and
excited.
he's the devil. It's kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, if you hear me saying X, Y, Z is not true, I'm not saying that necessarily means he's evil or you're evil or anything like that. I'm just giving you my best understanding of what the truth is.
Correct. And Peyton and I talked about a lot of these, and I'm going to call him out on anything that could be misleading. But I think overall, even though he leans away from Trump, that these are, I mean, they're facts. We're fact checking. We're not trying to introduce any bias into this. So it's going to sound like Peyton's shitting on Trump the whole time because he is, but it's also warranted.
All right. So the first thing that kind of came up was the 2020 election. And I didn't really feel like going completely down that whole rabbit hole.
Right.
Because you either believe that he is full of shit when he talks about the election being rigged, or you subscribe to one of the several conspiracy theories about it being rigged, and I don't think I'm going to be able to debunk that within the 30, 40 minutes we're trying to cover this in. You know what I'm saying?
You can always try.
Well, there's so many. There's some I don't even know about. Like, I can't even
Start with the first one.
The first one was fucking Dominion.
There's no first one.
That was the first one, and then we know how that
Right,
worked out.
right.
And then people jumped on other ones. So
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just get ahead of this. Peyton's full of shit here. Trump definitely won in 2020. Facts.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, yeah. All I know is obviously there were 61 I think cases, and it was 60-1 that his side won, and we had conservative states with conservative secretaries of states calling it in Biden's favor, recounts with Biden still winning or winning by more.
Right.
They sent their counts. The states sent their official electoral delegate counts to D.C. to be counted on January 6th, how it's always done. These are the official tallies. What else do you want them to do? You know what I'm saying?
Stop cheating, for one.
God damn it.
That's a fucking lob ball.
All right, so
That one's that's not even a fact check. Like he's
that was
lying.
not really a fact
He's
check.
just lying.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you say it, then I don't have to say it. So thank you.
I mean, in terms of how our justice system is set up, and if you have faith in it, then it is proven to be an outright lie. Right.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
So
the next one was January 6th. Is that what you recall? I think that was next up on the program. They brought up January 6th. And this is where I think this is probably the most interesting kind of technical, messy one. He's asked, you have a lot of sway over your supporters. Do you regret anything about January 6th and what happened? And he's basically like, of course, no, I don't. It was a beautiful day, a lot of beautiful people, very nice people. I mean, I don't want to start quoting him.
Some of the best people.
Many
of them, very nice.
Let's see. The one thing he brought up was I offered, because he says this, I offered 10,000 troops.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you stop there, that is, to my understanding, true and technically not false statement. If you kind of stop right there, you just look at that sentence, you don't think about the context or things he says after.
Right.
I offered 10,000 troops.
And I didn't confirm the number, but he states he offered troops, and he offered troops. Like I
believe the January 6th report even confirms that there was some, and by offering the troops, it doesn't mean that he ordered 10,000 troops.
Right.
Or that there was any type of official plan, because his Secretary of Defense testified before the committee that there was never a plan, there was nothing formal that he knew about, any ordering of 10,000 troops. But Trump said he offered 10,000 troops.
Right.
And so my understanding is that sort of in passing, he was asking about, go ahead.
It was like it seemed how he phrased it seemed like a casual thing. He's like, well, if we're concerned about, it was about the safety of his own people, which I think you're going to get into, but not the specifics, but he like floated it by like, well, if we're concerned about the safety, why don't I just send 10,000 troops down there? It wasn't like an official, like, I've done it and go do it and you're defying my order. It wasn't an order. He was like, what if we're brainstorming, like, what if we send 10,000 troops down there? That would help. Right?
And I think his guy said, it was kind of normal Trump shit.
Yeah.
So
like,
he didn't
like bleach. Can we try the bleach? Look into that.
Yeah, it's like we might need 10,000 troops. You know what I mean? And the guy's like, well, there will have to be a request, and he's saying the DC or Capitol Police, whoever, will have to make a request. And Trump's like, okay, fill if so, fill the request.
Yeah.
That's essentially all that was made of this.
Right.
And so where it gets to be half true or a lie territory is he's like, oh, I talked to Nancy basically, and she denied this, and she's in control of the Capitol, and I offered it to Nancy and she denied it. And he tried to bring in Nancy Pelosi and kind of like put blame on her for January 6th by saying, oh, I offered her troops.
He definitely said she declined them, so we didn't send them.
Yeah, like that is not true.
That is right.
Pelosi is a sick woman. She's got a lot of problems, a lot of mental problems.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some in the conversation, because, once again, what you're about to get into is that Trump suggested that to protect himself and his people, right? Like the MAGA base and his supporters who were there. He wanted the troops there to protect them, I think is what was going on. But he's spinning it like he wanted them there. He suggested it to protect the Capitol and the people within the Capitol. So I wouldn't be surprised if how it worked out was, what if we send 10,000 troops down there to protect me and myself? And Nancy was like, that's ridiculous. You don't need 10,000 troops to protect you. So when he proposes, or when he, recounts it to the audience, he's like, I wanted 10,000 troops there. And Nancy said no.
Right, but I think even what you're saying is like definitely speculation. Like,
it's totally, yes.
My understanding is nothing ever got to Nancy Pelosi about this whole thing until after January 6th. Like there were people that might have been under her that in some cases report to her that maybe turned down the offer or something like that. But it wasn't like she was in contact with him or ever heard about it.
As you said, it's all speculation, and none of this was like an official, like, Nancy is not the reason that the troops didn't show up. The reason is because it was deemed it was unnecessary. No one submitted a request. Trump didn't submit an order because there was no request. All of those reasons. Like, it was not an official thing. It was an idea. But the question was, whatever he said, not the question. What he said was that he offered troops, and he did offer the troops, but the rest of the shit is normal, his bullshit, exaggerating the story and morphing it into a lie.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking, like, how does it even logically follow that, like, you're saying, you're kind of implying that I offered 10,000 troops to protect the Capitol, which really it was more about, he had heard about some international threats maybe to, I don't know why there'd be international threats.
It's BLM, man, right? It was the Antifa buses.
But international, I don't know how it becomes international.
I don't know.
But anyway, there was threats he heard about maybe, and the numbers he was trying to get were to protect the protesters. That everyone was kind of aware that they were going to be doing this in MAGA circles.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense to say on the one hand, I try to protect the Capitol, and I'm also going to pardon everyone that I tried to protect from happening.
He didn't say that.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control. I would say it will be a large portion of them. They did and it'll be very early on.
The former president also describing his supporters who attacked the Capitol on that day, which left 5 people dead, this way.
They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day.
Wait, he said he's going to pardon most of them.
He said...
Did he say he's going to pardon most of them?
He said he would look into it, but it's likely he would pardon most of them. And then specifically the 4 Proud Boys, he would have to review the cases one by one to make a determination.
So he certainly didn't say they all pled guilty and they deserve what they got.
Right.
He certainly didn't say that.
Did they all plead guilty?
No, I don't think they all pled. What I'm saying is...
I understand what you're saying.
He could say the ones that did plead guilty, at least he could say.
Like they admitted it, so yeah.
But anyway, it gets messy.
Right. So that's an extremely misleading one. But so from my angle, I fixate on the more pro-Trump points of he said he would evaluate the 4 Proud Boys, who I think were the worst cases there. He said he would evaluate them and decide, which to me is no, I'm not going to pardon them, but I'm not going to say that because we're in the primaries, not in the presidential, and I don't want to piss off all the Republicans.
But what does it say about the party? I mean, and the whole situation that he has largely created.
Fucking, or I don't want to say the whole party, because I think it's like the media party, like who's sitting there watching this shit, and I think it's not most of the people, but yeah, it's crazy right now, man. It's fucking whack. Like we have to be.
He's their leader. I mean, he's the one
I know.
So you can't even say,
right? No, you can't.
Yeah, the people convicted by our system for whatever technical.
That's his thing, man.
That's crazy.
That's his thing.
I gotta get more into asking you later how all this can happen and you still can be for it.
It's not just the right's fault. I'm just going to start with that.
Oh my God.
I'm going to say I already admitted that the right is fucking crazy. The right that you see on TV is insane, but it's not. It takes 2. It takes 2 sides to fuck this all up.
How do we get to the pardoning part anyway? Did we get?
It was the next one was January 6th. We went
So, I wanted to bring up that on that day, obviously he went down and gave a speech. Obviously, he had been talking about the lies way in advance, leading up to that, which you admitted were not true.
Right.
Leading to this, so he's kind of got this culpability. Then on the day of, he doesn't do anything except he says, I had 2 perfect tweets, basically.
He pulled them out of his fucking...
Right, he's ready for
this.
He's
got the screenshots.
He thinks this is the, the Trump card, if you will. And, of course, the people at home are going to be probably persuaded that this is airtight logic, that he's got it in his pocket, these fucking tweets on the...
It could have been anything on those pieces of paper, like... He could have had nothing. We would have had no idea.
But let's get into the tweets. I have those here. This whole tweet situation.
Can you confirm or deny in your research that tweets were... He claimed that Twitter deleted his tweets and to this day have not reposted his tweets that say... This is terrible. Stop what you're doing. He mentioned one that was posted at 2:00 and one that was posted at 2:30, and he claimed one of those was removed by Twitter and never reposted. Did you ever? I didn't look into it. And I should have.
I wouldn't bet my life on what I'm going to say. My understanding was that they got taken down when it was like January 6th or 7th that Twitter suspended his account or something. So they got taken down because his whole account got taken down.
Oh.
And then my understanding is they're back there on Facebook and Twitter now that he's been restored.
That they're back?
That's my understanding. I don't know for sure.
Well, the only reason I would maybe refute that, and I don't know either, is because I would think that in the town hall, he had his Twitter account back, like he would have known, he would have had that info, unless that was just another Trump lie, you know, but like he would have had that info. Anybody could have jumped on and looked and be like, no, dude, your tweet's right here.
I thought I read earlier that like they're back on Twitter and Facebook.
And they just restored all the shit, maybe.
I think when this account came back, it didn't start at 0.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
I'm going to look.
That's fine.
I should have looked. I should have fucking looked this week.
That's fine.
I thought we were recording tomorrow, so I did a terrible job.
He's known for most of the day that we were recording today. He just thought this morning, or as early as this morning, he thought it was tomorrow and he forgot.
Right.
But
I caught up.
Know how relevant that would be. But
I was just curious. I mean, it'd be up there with the Twitter files of just like, you know, Hunter Biden conspiracy. Like,
it'd be a little bit,
and it wouldn't be surprising either, considering all the shit Twitter has been through lately. So it was just interesting.
Yeah, we could come back to that if you want later. But okay, here are the 2 tweets that he was referring to, folks. He had one. It was at 2:38 is the first one of the 2. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful! !
That was 2 or 3 hours after they started.
Both of them are after Fox News is already like, and other news stations are already covering it. They got like, I want to say like the tear gas going and like
like we're deep in it.
We're deep in it by this point. They had been, according to the testimony before the January 6th committee, people inside the White House. They had been begging him to do something. They had to beg him to get these tweets. They wanted him to say to leave. He would not agree to telling them to leave. Pence was the one that was making some phone calls trying to get the National Guard going. People are texting Don Jr. and others are texting people in the White House. He needs to do something. And they're like, he doesn't want to do shit.
Wait. Don Jr. was saying he needs to do something?
Yeah, Don Jr. is texting like Meadows or someone in the
No way.
Oh, way.
He's usually like pro.
No, he is, but
pro dad scumbag. Like,
well, he is still, but in that moment, a lot of people are like, okay, line has been crossed.
Yeah, like we're there.
We're there. You know what I mean?
It was back there. Hang a you.
Yeah, like, so for all of this is why it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
For all of this shit he's talking about, oh, I offered troops, oh, I did all this, I had these perfect tweets. It's like, it's so counter to the reality of what he didn't do in that moment.
Right.
But anyway, he did tweet these 2 things. People wanted him to say for them to leave. Instead, he did not. I don't think I've read the second one yet. The second one at 3:13 says, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence! ! Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. All right.
Do you think that the tweets even matter? Like, picture yourself there. I know it's a message to the rest of the American people, but like, it could be like a useless, like a pointless notion. You know?
I think that these were largely him just having to tweet something.
No,
and he
totally.
Was doing the minimum.
But like, even if he was like really wanted to, and it was like way earlier, and he was like, "No, don't do this. I care." When you're there, like fucking strapped and ready to go, and like are storming the Capitol, are you like, "Hold on, let me check my Twitter feed"? Like, probably not. I mean, right?
I'm
not excusing him. I'm just saying, like, in a practical sense, does it matter?
What I'm going to bring up in a second, I think would support the idea that him saying bad things would make it even worse. I'm not sure if he said really nice, appropriate things that it would have helped. I don't, because they might be like, oh, he's compromised. I mean, these people are like Q-believing folks and all kind of shit, man. Like, I don't know. They might fucking... I need video evidence of the president. You know,
that's a deep fake.
This Twitter bot.
That's not my president. They replaced him.
Yeah. So I want to point out.
Oh, fuck me.
Scroll. At 2:24, in his first public statement about the attack, Trump tweeted and later deleted, "Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth." And it goes on to say, and you can call bullshit on whatever I'm about to say if you want.
I mean, if it's on there, like,
This is part of like the report, I think. The tweet came on the heels of Trump urging Pence, both before and during his speech at the rally on the morning of January 6, 2021, to send the electoral votes back to the states to have them recertified. Does not have the power to do that, by the way. Quote, I hope Mike is going to do the right thing, end quote. Trump said during his speech at the rally, I hope so, because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election, so I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do. And then moments after Trump posted the tweet that he later deleted that I just mentioned, it was read aloud by one of the protesters using a megaphone shortly after the crowd began chanting, hang Mike Pence. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger told the committee the tweet looked like fuel being poured on the fire. And he decided in that moment he would resign. Former Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews told the committee the tweet was essentially, quote unquote, was essentially him giving the green light to these people, telling them that what they were doing at the steps of the Capitol and into the Capitol was okay, that they were justified in their anger, end quote. So that's all my reading for now. So if we're going to bring up the tweets, that one should be included, I think.
But
that's not a part of the fact check.
But he removed it, right?
He did, yeah.
After
Yeah.
Outside, protester reads Donald Trump tweet. Crowd chants, hang Mike Pence. There's a hangman's noose outside.
So that's not a part of the fact check, technically.
Oh, yeah, it just closes the loop.
I'm just including that for flavor.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dick. What do you want?
So, yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing on that.
All right.
Pence.
You're like, yes.
Pence. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something to say here, but I got nothing that I should say.
All right. Let me see if I can.
I think it's amazing that they're running against each other here. Did he officially throw his hat in the ring here? Pence?
No.
I was reading this week that he's like maybe like he should have. Like, I don't know. It seems like they're acting like everyone is a presidential candidate and no one has actually done it yet. We're like, DeSantis is going for president and Pence is going for president, but like no one's done shit. I don't know. Continue. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Okay. Yeah. My understanding is Pence is going to. My understanding is Ron DeSantis is going to. They have not officially announced
Nobody
yet.
will do it though. Pussies. Oh, Pence opened up a super PAC. That's what it was. Go ahead. I don't think he does it, but that's what I read.
Let's see. I'm not going through every single thing, folks. I just wanted to pick out some of these. He said we had the greatest economy in the history of our country, probably the greatest economy in the history of the world. Not if you look at like
not statistically.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at economic growth, GDP growth, that sort of thing, it was apparently stronger under all kinds of people in the past. Eisenhower,
Clinton, right?
Reagan,
Clinton.
I think various people.
I think the fact checks that was it the Washington Post that you sent me. It was that he even broke it down into terms of GDP and I think like dollar value. I think different administrations still beat him in both of those, because you could look at it multiple different ways to bend the statistics to make you right. And no matter which way you bend the stat here, he was not right. Like we didn't have the best economy in terms of anything.
But that might be one of those that you were talking about earlier where it's like, yeah, that's just Trump being Trump. He's just exaggerating.
Yeah. Like it was the best.
I mean, he could have just said we had a great economy and just quoted some statistics without saying it was the greatest in the history. But I mean, I guess that's what he wants to do.
He claimed it was the greatest, right? But he says people are the best, and everyone can't be the best person, and he says that in every rally he's in. So
yeah,
fact check.
I don't
that
care about
person's
that one.
not the best person.
Let's see.
Not the best economy.
He said we were energy independent. Trump often made this claim as president, basing the statement on the fact that the United States exported more crude and refined products than it imported. However, the United States still relied on other countries for its energy needs, which it has and it still does. And I think we, that has not changed under Biden. In 2022, the United States imported about 8.32 million barrels per day of petroleum and exported about 9.58 million barrels of petroleum. Blah blah blah.
So we're still
we're still a
an
net exporter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why? I always when I hear things like we were energy independent, I assume that like that can't be right? Like it's just impossible. Like why would you say that? Because we're buying fuel. Like we're not energy independent.
Because
we just
it plays to the crowd because it doesn't matter to so many
who's
people.
Believing that? Like
trust me, millions of people.
Hold on. So the people I'm gonna play left guy for a minute here. Sorry, all the people who expect me to be right guy. I love you all, but. All right, so like a couple weeks ago, months ago, whatever, we're sitting here bitching about the fact that we're buying oil from Venezuela and all these other places and OPEC's raising prices. And then also we're like, but we're energy independent. That doesn't make sense. We're buying shit from other people and you're upset about it. And then you're also thinking that we're energy independent. Like those things are different.
And I want to say, certainly not my area of expertise, but even if we were like capable of being independent, oil is priced on the global market.
Well,
unless we nationalized it and controlled it as the government, it would still be based on the market price for it. In terms of what we would pay.
If we're like self-sufficient, I don't think that would be true. We wouldn't base it on the globe. If we're not selling it, we're not buying it. Who gives a fuck? It's our own thing.
But because private people would still own it. And they would still be
probably be more expensive. It'd probably be fucking worse. Yeah,
I didn't say that. I'm just saying, like we're food independent,
right?
In America, like that's one of our greatest strengths as a nation.
Are we?
Oh yeah. I mean,
weren't we upset about like Ukrainian grain or something? Weren't we upset about that?
That's based on affecting maybe some prices or affecting other countries and so forth. Again, though, it might affect prices. It doesn't mean that we get our food for free. But anyway, we're getting down the rabbit hole here, but we're not energy independent.
No,
we still are a net exporter.
We're not.
And the prices of gas still are largely dependent on OPEC. We see that happen since since Biden has been in office.
It's coming down too. Have you noticed that?
What else?
Yeah, the gas.
But didn't it? But it has gone like it came down a lot. It went back up a little. Like, and a lot of times it's because OPEC is making moves.
Right.
And you can see a direct correlation.
Yeah, it got it was really really bad, and then it like got way better, and then it got like medium bad, and now it's down to like just past it was like 317. This shit's gonna be it's plummeting fast too because it was like 360 a couple weeks ago. It's gonna be in the twos soon. Woo! I'm just gonna drive in circles around the neighborhood.
So, all right, let's find another beautiful.
What's another
perfect comment?
I think you've passed all the. I was really only. I have a few notes of other ones that aren't really important. That if you read some of these fact checks, like online. Some of them, I talked to Peyton about this, like one of my big problems is that it just seems like depending on the source, like you still have to consider your source on a fact check. So a lot of people are fact checking in like not an unbiased way. Like they're picking like really stupid things to go after him on. And I had a problem with some of them that I wrote down, but they're stupid ones. So he's going to cover, I'm going to agree with everything Peyton's about to say.
Just to give a nod to Trump, he said we got the biggest regulation and regulatory cuts. And I don't know if that's like a certified perfect fact, but like the fact check that I mainly went to was definitely saying he certainly has grounds to brag about this. If you consider that to be a good thing, he certainly did a lot of that shit.
But they didn't stop from saying, well, it was only for corporate America and for most Americans. He didn't do dick for you, so Trump still sucks. Fact check, Trump's bad.
Actually, this says his claim of the most or biggest regulation cuts cannot be easily verified and appears to be false. There's no reliable metric on which to judge this claim or to compare him to previous presidents. But, again, in Trump language, he's not too far off from the truth in saying that he had the biggest cuts.
So this one they mark as misleading because they can't prove it's true, but they also can't prove it's false. So they don't say it's false. They didn't use the word
misleading.
Do they not? They didn't mark it as misleading at the top?
They do say it appears to be false.
Yeah.
But there's no reliable
So that's where I start not trusting fact checkers.
Well, come on, it's most likely not true.
You're fact checking something. That means you have evidence to refute it. And if you don't have evidence to refute it or say one way or the other, you could say, "Hey, look, we don't really know, but based on this, that, and the other thing, it's misleading because there's no evidence to suggest that it's true. But then when you say like it's most likely false based on nothing, that needs to be fact checked.
I guess it's true.
I start
if you're going to say there's no reliable metric and you're also going to say it appears to be false, you need to show your work. I can agree with that.
Right. So now I'm starting to be like, let's fact check the fact checkers because you're getting a lot of bias in these fact checks.
Well, let me read the rest just for good measure. Many experts say the most significant regulatory changes in U.S. history were the deregulation of airline, rail, and trucking industries during the Carter administration, Democrat, which are estimated to provide consumers $70 billion in annual benefits. A detailed November 2020 report by the Penn Program on Regulation concluded that without exception, each major claim we have uncovered about the president or other White House officials about regulation turns out to be exaggerating, misleading, or downright untrue. The report said that the Trump administration had not reduced the overall number of pages from the regulatory code book, and it completed far more regulatory actions than deregulatory ones once the full data were examined. Ow. Yeah. You would have to look into that yourself to see if you believe it, but that sounds not good for Trump.
Well, he said what did he say? I don't remember what the claim is. If he just said
he just said he had the biggest cuts. It was one of those Trump type comments.
So you can cut a lot of regulations, and then they refuted, or they kind of like rebutted that, like, well, he added a bunch too, but he didn't say I cut things and didn't add things. He just said I cut a bunch. But true. He also added a bunch. So
you would probably have to agree that he's being misleading because he's clearly meant to tell people that he cut a bunch.
I agree he's being misleading. I just don't agree that some of these fact checkers are going and saying like the opposite and presenting it as if it's fact when
I just feel the same. That you're being a bit nitpicky because it's your boy.
Yes.
But you're not entirely wrong.
I'm in defense mode here. Like this is my role. This is my role.
I agree. Appreciate you.
Fuck those fact checkers.
All right, here's listen for this.
Not you.
Here's your role. He says, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China. And I think this is good to point out. We haven't done an episode on this because it gets super...
Well, like foreign stuff?
No, on economics.
Oh, sorry. Echo what?
Trump was... became a little bit more of a protectionist because he's more of a populist conservative, not more of a free market conservative. And so, tariffs on steel from China, for instance. Okay. People know of that one. And they retaliated by like taking in less of our soybeans or something like that. And then we had to pay the farmers more in subsidies to make up for that. That was a famous thing that happened.
Sounds so stupid when you put it like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, it is. So I'm largely anti-tariffs, generally speaking. But Biden has continued and furthered these protectionist policies. Okay. So for both of them, in my view. But, okay, he says, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China. Okay, I'm going to read from here because it's easier. Through the end of his presidency, Trump imposed tariffs garnered about $75 billion on products from China. But tariffs, essentially a tax, are generally paid by importers, such as U.S. companies, who in turn pass on most or all of the cost to consumers or producers who use Chinese materials in their products. So ultimately, Americans footed the bill for Trump's tariffs, not the Chinese. Moreover, the China tariff revenue was reduced by $28 billion in payments the government made to farmers who lost business because China stopped buying U.S. soybeans, hogs, cotton, and other products in response. I actually forgot that was in this piece when I mentioned it a minute ago. But that's just my whole point about tariffs in general is what they just said. So he says he garnered $75 billion on products from China. Well,
they didn't. He garnered it on products from China. The products are from China. The money's not from China. So,
right.
So he got money from the American people.
Well, his quote though, his quote is, "I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China." They were saying
that's bad.
Trump imposed tariffs garnered about $75 billion.
Right.
But he said, "I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China."
So just to put it in stupid people terms like me, we buy shit that we're not supposed to. Importers buy shit that they're not really that we don't like, and then so the importers are just gonna pay or charge a fee to the customer. So you're gonna pay like some tariff fee or Chinese steel fee if you go to buy steel from the importer. The importer's not gonna lose money on it. You're gonna lose money, so you're gonna pay more. And I don't know if it's explicitly written as a Chinese steel fee, but your prices are gonna be higher for it. Or there's going to be a specific import fee or some shit listed like that. So you're just paying Trump. And so his $75 billion that he recovered or whatever was from us, not from China, is the whole point. Like we paid for that.
Yep.
So flipping it as a pro, but really it was like, haha, all you fucking American companies out there, the hardworking middle class, you paid for all this.
Yes.
But
Yes.
China paid for it. Lie.
Yes.
All right.
So, and there's times when it might make sense, right? Like if you're trying to make sure that you have microchips being produced here
sure.
versus only produced, say, in China or something.
Yeah.
Not that they're all produced there, but there are times when you might want to, you might be willing to pay more to make sure that you have your own base of producing things that in a crisis situation, you're not beholden to the rest of the world for the things that make your fucking shit work.
Isn't that wouldn't that be the only reason to do that? Or just some we're mad at Russia, so tariff?
I mean, sure, maybe something like that,
but then it just fucks us too. I don't know. It seems like the only situation that would make any real sense would be if that one, where we're trying to boost our own production of things,
or maybe if it was being produced by slaves in another country, like the Uyghurs or something in China, where they tried to pass a law. I think it got. I think Nike was like, "Fuck you, don't pass that," but they're trying to get a law, or maybe it did pass. I forget.
We can't make iPhones, so. Can't do that.
So anyway, moving on from this one.
Speaking of iPhones, make your cameras better. Okay, we're struggling.
He says that he had every right under the Presidential Records Act. I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there, and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. It says you talk, you negotiate, you make a deal. It's not criminal, by the way. Well, that was a little bit of weird quote of his. Apparently that's not, He
said you beg, barter, and steal, right? You negotiate and you work out whatever you need to work out, and you get to take some things home at the end. That was what he was like. Yeah, the Presidential Record Act says you negotiate. You work it out. You work out a deal.
Yeah, I don't know if I even want to get into this one. I don't really.
Well, I did have something interesting just to mention about this, not about the fact check, but I was reading the Presidential Records Act, which I thought I had previously read, but I had read something else. I don't know what it was. But on this one, it's section, I don't remember the chapter number of the Presidential Records Act, but in that act, it's section 2005. There's a line there that says, all presidential records of a former president must remain available to said president, to said former president, indefinitely. So there is a statement, just a one-line statement that says all presidential records belonging to a former president must remain available to that former president.
Yeah, just probably not in their possession, I assume.
Probably.
They're available.
I'm just,
right.
It was an interesting one that I don't think has ever been talked about. That was you read some of these things and you find some clauses in there and you're
clearly they had to go to a judge to get warrants and everything else.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this wasn't
I'm just saying, I would be fucking waving that all over the place. It says right here, look, says I can do what I want. This is the negotiation clause.
So, I mean, the whole, I don't know, for some reason, the whole classified documents thing is kind of boring. It's not that it's not important, but it just sort of seems played out. And then now that other people have documents, even though it was a different situation.
Yeah, now that Biden has documents, we want the story to go away, right?
Oh, shit. Now I got to read this.
He's got the most boxes of all the boxes. The very best boxes. We know with
Trump that he had boxes, and they came and got them after they had to subpoena them. He said he didn't have them.
He didn't have 1,850 boxes, though, like Biden did.
All right, so Trump says Biden, on the other hand, has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown. Chinatown, where they don't even speak English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
They have their own police force.
And nobody even knows where they are, 1,800. Why is it that Biden had 9 boxes in Chinatown and he gets a lot of money from China?
He does. It's true. We don't know it's true, but his son does.
So Biden in 2012.
It's so funny.
In 2012, provided 1,850 boxes of files from his decades as a senator to the University of Delaware. The university has said that public access has been prohibited until they have been properly processed and archived unless Biden gives his express consent. The files will be opened 2 years after the donor retires from public life. Contrary to Trump's claim, in February, the FBI searched the university documents. Agents initially did not find classified information, but the material is still being reviewed, the Washington Post reported. After his term as vice president ended, Biden had a temporary office in Chinatown in the district. There's no evidence he has received money from China.
It's important to note here also that documents by a senator, you said, are covered by a different like governance. Like it's not the Presidential Act that applies to the president and extends to the VP. So if any of these came from his vice presidency, sure, maybe, but as a senator, the rules aren't quite as strict.
Okay.
Because Nixon wasn't a senator, and Nixon fucked the whole thing up for everyone.
Yep.
Trump should be mad at Nixon, I think.
And he also said the vice president cannot declassify. He didn't have the right to declassify, and this is false. According to the Washington Post, under an executive order signed by President Barack Obama in 2009, the vice president has original classification authority. Trump has claimed that he declassified the documents he kept. Biden, while vice president, had the right to declassify material if he had to classify the material in the first place.
That's the only time that he's allowed to, is if it was his. If he classified the material, then he can declassify, but he can't just generally declassy other documents. It has to be his own documents. If he says it's classified, he can say it's unclassified. Declassified, sorry.
I don't think this one was important, I thought. Okay. He said, we've given to Ukraine so far $171 billion. They've given, meaning European Union, which is approximately the same size altogether as our economy. They've given about 20. Washington Post says Trump often exaggerates U.S. military spending and shortchanges European contributions to global security. An April report by the RAND Corporation said, although U.S. military aid since the war began exceeds Europe's, about $45 billion to $20 billion, Europe has provided more financial and humanitarian aid, about $40 billion to our $30 billion.
So we've still provided more than Europe. It's 40 to 20 in military, but it's 30 to 40 in humanitarian.
Yeah, it's just that he says it's like what they're doing, not shit over there.
Do you think that so that's another thing I fucking forgot to look into, was how much has been approved though? Because we're doing this thing right now, right, where we've approved funding for Ukraine, but haven't actually given them the money, and then we trickle it out. So have we approved 170 whatever billion, and we just haven't given it to them yet? You know, it's like over the next year, we're going to give you 171 billion, but we're going to do it in like $1 billion increments.
Well, I'm sure they're probably going to continue to give as well over there. I don't really know the answer, though.
I guess my only counter to that would be then Europe is also going to continue to give them money. So if you're talking about what we're going to give them by the end of the year, look, both numbers will go up. So I don't know. It's misleading at best, but I mean, outright wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just not the numbers.
It seemed pretty wrong, right?
Yeah.
So that's not nice to completely mischaracterize what's going on. And
the only out he would have is if we've approved 171 billion, but then it would just be misleading. But I don't think we've approved 171 billion for that.
But you'd also have to know how many they've approved.
Correct. That's
you'd have to compare apples to apples.
Exactly.
So I guess I wanted to. We're basically done with the fact checking portion. I mean, those were some of the bigger things. Was there something he said that you thought was like a shining thing that we should make sure the listeners hear? You know.
Yeah, we need to take back our country. We need to make America great again.
No, for real though. How does? Because it seems to me, because a lot of us that are Trump haters call it like a cult of personality. And I truly think people just love Trump, and it just doesn't fucking matter about anything else in the reality, because his lies are just not the same as I feel other presidential lies have been. I mean, they've been some bad ones.
I don't know. The economy was good under him. God, like I feel the same about Biden though. Like we've talked about things that Biden has done, but we know that a lot of those things are just things that have happened during his administration, or that, you know, he signed the last on it, but like he didn't really put it into motion. So all of the counter arguments to me are like just out the window. Like I don't know how people could be like, yeah, let's get more Joe, you know? So I just feel like these are our options, you know? I think if you threw two awesome people up there, we'd be like, these guys are fucking terrible. But we don't have those better people. We have fucking Trump and we have Joe. And fuck Joe. I'm not voting for Joe.
But you were sitting there watching it and you were loving it.
Oh, yeah, because it's hilarious.
And it didn't seem like it was just because it's funny. Because I enjoy it because it's funny. It was like you were like, I like this guy, man. I love this guy.
Wouldn't you hold on for a second? He's not, you don't hate him, right? He's hanging out in the backyard, right? We're grilling on the Blackstone, we're chilling, listening to some music. He's a good time, right? Like, you're having fun with Trump. You can hate him, you just don't talk about politics, and you're having a good time with him. You know, he's everyone's boy.
I don't know. I can't say. I mean, I really don't.
Because you'd immediately be like, what's your stance on this? And then it'd ruin the whole day.
Dude, no, because dude.
I know, he's grabbing him.
You think this guy's cool.
He's grabbing him.
This guy, to me, is like sleazy frat bro guy, and that's not the type of guy I'm like, I want to hang out with him in the backyard. I want someone that's like, a decent human.
Okay. So, like, actually, like, are we hanging out, like, every weekend after that first party? No, but like, I'm definitely broing down with Trump when he's in my backyard. Like, that's happening. Now, I'm not doing that with most other people. I think his appeal is that he's not these fucking white bread ass politicians that, like, you just know that I don't know.
I know. I get like,
there's an appeal to him.
I get some of that, especially in 2016 before I had a record to look at all the shit. But how do you look at it now and see everything that's continued to accelerate in terms of the division? And see what he did in the 2020 election and after, and January 6th, and still be like, that's okay. I mean, if he might, like, I think feel like everybody would have to at least be working their butt off to not let him be the nominee.
Well, they might be. They might be.
We'll see. I hope
so.
And I don't know if it's like I really believe it or if I'm just hoping, but I feel like maybe DeSantis. Once he actually announces,
he's coming.
Everyone that's like been waiting on a viable non-Trump, I'm hoping they jump on that shit.
Well, Hannah and I talked about this tonight. Actually, it's this DeSantis he's up against it now, and he's got all this shit. And I think he got a tough deal from the state and what was expected of him in Florida at the end of his session, and I think he rushed to do a bunch of shit. And the last things you've really heard of him have been negative sounding, and I think he's been kind of like quiet, not much. I haven't been seeing a bunch of DeSantis stuff in the news. I think once he announces, he's going to come out swinging. He's going to say a lot of shit that kind of fixes all that. And I think he's going to come out a lot stronger than the polls suggest. But yeah, I mean, to give myself some credit here, I want DeSantis, right? Like, I don't want Trump. But when it comes down to Trump and Joe, like, it's not Joe. It's definitely not Kamala, which is I know who we're really talking about. So, like, it's Trump. Like, he brings this enthusiasm. I love to see him now just because he's been gone. He seems to be able to sneak out of any situation he ends up in. Like, he's like a unique individual, and he's not a regular politician. So he's fun, you know?
I'll say that there's a possibility that I could vote for him in 24 if Trump were the nominee. It's a possibility. So I can't be but so self-righteous about it in terms of, like, I can't hate everybody that's like would vote for him in a certain circumstance, but that's different from people that actually like this and prefer this and think that this is okay. Because I think we have taken for granted, like the whole needing to be decent and presidential, I think people sleep on. Like, they don't, actually happens to be a significant thing, I think, in terms of setting a standard and being the president. And because we can lose the whole thing quickly, as we saw with now people are trusting our institutions less and less and less, like the elections, like the Supreme Court. I mean, the left isn't innocent in this. Every time anything happens that they don't like, they attack the the honesty or integrity of the Supreme Court and stuff like that. I wanted to bring this up after the debate. After the town hall.
Okay. Whew.
DeSantis is, I want to say, like, super PAC. Never Back Down 24. The Twitter account says.
Oh, that's the name of it. Yeah. Oh, fuck. I'm like, what do you mean they never back down?
Yeah, it's like his group.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
On CNN tonight, Trump spent an hour talking about what he did or didn't do on January 6th, whether he will pardon people who harm police officers, how the 2020 election was rigged, whether he supports terminating parts of the U.S. Constitution or the whole thing because the 2020 election was rigged, the sex abuse case he was just found guilty in, a cat named Vagina, his defense of his comments about grabbing women by their genitals, the federal investigation in his stash of taxpayer-owned classified documents in Mar-a-Lago, the investigation into his efforts to reverse his 2020 loss to Biden in Georgia. How does this make America great again?
Again.
How does this make it? So that was from DeSantis' team, but guess what? They've since come out and been like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we that sounded like it came from CNN. We shouldn't have done that." Blah 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 blah. They're fucking. I don't want to use the P word. They're bitches, dude. This is why it drives me fucking crazy. DeSantis is in the hard spot because he can't fucking even name Trump. See, he can't even be real. This is we have to play to these fucking idiots across the Republican base and act like shit's not real. That's real. It's like ridiculous. And it's a self-created monster now. It's a Frankenstein that they can't control.
Right.
Just like Fox News had to start saying certain shit like Dominion to hold on to their people
audience,
because of so this is why we talk about
what could the consequences for the super PAC even be? Like,
well, it's DeSantis that
it's
could
for
suffer.
DeSantis.
Their person could suffer because they're calling out Trump. Oh, so, now you're on that.
So you think
side.
it's DeSantis's campaign managers or whatever his team is like, hey, super PAC, cut that out, take that down?
I want to say it's people maybe within the super PAC or more grassroots, more
they're like, this is going to fuck
Twitter
DeSantis?
tweeting at Never Back Down. People, right wingers on there.
I don't get how that could hurt DeSantis. He's fucking competing against him.
Maybe they all are sleeping on these. Maybe there's a sleeping giant of Republicans that are like, nah, you can tell us the truth. We just want a fucking fighter, but it is a reality-based fighter. We want DeSantis. And maybe it wouldn't hurt him at all. But they seem to think that there's a bunch of people out there that are going to freak out as soon as you say.
Yeah, it's because he's polling so bad, right? Like, they're trying to. They think the only Republicans out there are MAGA Republicans. That's what the problem is. They think that the whole base is a Trump base, and they're trying to win a Trump base when most Republicans aren't a Trump base.
But it's hard to know. I mean, because if you look at all the Republicans that showed up to that town hall, I found out that they got the audience. CNN didn't like find their own people in New Hampshire that they thought were conservative. They said to the New Hampshire Republican Party, y'all grab some Republicans. So these are not just Republicans, but Republicans. You know what I'm saying? They're like committed to the party.
They had the swastikas under the under their fucking blazers.
So they're all there and they're eating it up, right? It just literally sounded like
some of them look pissed.
It sounded like the laugh lines. Like every time he would say something, it sounded like a sitcom, which means people at home are even more likely to like be drawn into that, which is why sitcoms do the laugh lines.
Right.
And so everyone in America, that's why people were pissed at CNN before, but now definitely after, because it just like riled up all the fans. It was just like a big night. His coming out party. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's back coming. Like, so
it's the primary, right? So he's got to make it. You're not fighting Democrats. Like, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
You know, we still get, and nobody has fucking announced, like, what are you doing? Like, hello, where are the people? You just going to let Trump just let him have it? The fuck? Where are we?
And remember how it ended early?
Yeah.
My understanding was that was because it had like become such a shit show that they like pulled the plug on it.
Really? Yeah, because
I don't know that for a fact.
I was like, why is it ending at 9:09?
Yeah, I think they were like, this is fucking a debacle.
Trump's like ready to go. He had his other pocket full of other screenshots.
Yeah.
Ready
Don
to go.
Jr.'s like, oh, this is Trump news now. We own this bitch, you know. But I think we're...
You didn't fact check one of the things.
Okay, go ahead.
You brought it up earlier a little bit. Is it true that if you're famous, you can actually just grab a woman like that with no consequences?
Over the last million of years or so, that's largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
I didn't see... He did say that. I didn't see that on any single fact check that I looked at. None of them checked into that.
Because if they said it wasn't true, you would have had an issue with it. Based on what metric?
Yeah.
Is that not true? That's clearly fucking true.
That was it. All right, that's a good note to end on.
All right, guys. See y'all next episode. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
That's why you listen to Wing Radicals.
Yeah, true.